The Season 2 champion, Ray Rogers, has not had the luck on his side this season by any means. Does pick up the pole tonight. Does that mean maybe a little bit of extra ump in a race that he almost won 1 season ago? The iRacing pace car peels on off. 2 races to go until the playoffs. Time to rev up at the home of NASCAR, Charlotte Motor Speedway. The SimMax 300 underway on Podium eSports. A monumental run for the Prestige Worldwide Racing driver in that green number 4 machine. Contact for the lead. Harlow moves Dobbs up the track. New leader, the 19, and Dobbs slides back to 4th. Redding throws it deep into the corner, way on the outside now. On board here on the crew shot number 71, trying to utilize that inside lane as the center of the track continues to slick off. Drivers have to make a decision, but the only driver really making moves in that slick stuff, well, of course, it's Brandon Proud, but on the outside now, John Hine trying to maneuver his way back into the top 5. Tremendous block by Lapcevich. I don't know how he got down there that quick without getting turned around. And here comes 3rd place in the championship points on the outside lane. Jake Cochio getting a little bit of help. Rain is trying to make that 3rd lane work, and they might get some friends. Here comes Vargas too. For the only time this season, it is time to hop across the Atlantic and take a trip to Europe, as time trickles down to become a virtual champion of the international world of NASCAR stock car racing. This worldwide all-star battle takes place on another road course full of twists and turns as drivers from NASCAR Mexico, the Canadian NASCAR Pinty Series, and the NASCAR Drive for Diversity attempt to outduel the drivers of Euro NASCAR on their home pitch. Good evening and welcome to the semifinal round of iRacing's coverage of the 2022 D-Box eNASCAR International iRacing Series powered by Digital Motorsports, live from iRacing's virtual Circuit Zolder in Belgium. Alongside Kenneth Bueno, I am Devon Henry. Our producer today is Ryan Bauer, making all the magic happen with cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Well, Kenneth, we have officially reached clutch time. Just 2 races to go in the series, and we reach our 2nd road course of the year. Typically, this little short series, the little sprint races we have are typically road course heavy. This year, we only have 2. And of course, it was the Canadian taking home the win on Canadian soil at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Trey Lapcevich, he will be definitely one of the contenders tonight. But first of all, you got to beat the Europeans who run here 2 times a year, Kenneth, in the real world. It is the semifinal in the virtual world. The Frenchman, Paul Giuffreau, to lead us to the green flag. The D-Box eNASCAR International iRacing Series, powered by Digital Motorsports, coming down to the clutch. Who will take home the title? It's our final road course start at Circuit Zolder. And just in front of him in that yellow and green machine, the 42-year-old Portuguese driver, Miguel Gomez, not really satisfied with his real-world racing starts here at Circuit Zolder this year. A DNF in race 1 and a 12th place finish in Euro 2 in his 2 races. But the 42-year-old, who is the first ever full-time Portuguese driver in Euro NASCAR, hoping to bring it into the sim world here. If you take a look at him on board inside of the real world, inside of his cockpit, trying to get himself a good finish here. In this battle for 10th right now is really heating up, but it's also allowing some of the drivers ahead of them to pull out away. And Cosio right now in full damage control mode as he has a little bit of brake lockup. Because he came into tonight 3rd overall in the points series. He was very much still alive in this championship if he could catch up to Trey Lapcevich. But now that gap is really going to expand. He was 10 points behind your leader Lapcevich as Barnes trying to hound the rear bumper of the 23 car. Vargas has made a couple of moves. He's now passed Gordon Barnes and Frederick Gabillon. So he continues to move forward as he's just kind of mired in the back part of this field, and he gets tagged by Barnes.
On Lapcevich, and here he comes to the outside for P4.
The young Mexican and Canadian dueling here in Belgium in the eNASCAR International Series. Can't quite get a grip, though, and find his way around Lapcevich, and they continue to go bumper for bumper. And boy, Giorgio Maggi has himself quite a show. Needs some popcorn in that cockpit. Final quarter for Paul Giuffreau into turn number 10. He will become the 9th different winner in D-Box eNASCAR International iRacing Series history. The European protects home turf at Zolder. Paul Giuffreau wins in Belgium. Daytona is home of monumental events, the Daytona 500, the Rolex 24, Daytona Supercross, the list goes on and on. And for the first time ever, we're not on the road course. We hit the high banks of Daytona International Speedway for the D-Box NASCAR International iRacing Series powered by Digital Motorsports. A privilege to have you along for the ride, whether you're watching online or live in Germany from the ADAC Sim Racing Expo in Nuremberg. But for now, it's time to watch on who will take home the checkers in Daytona. We are underway in Florida. I don't think anyone is going to be too surprised if Ryan Vargas is out front, but Trey Lapsich has been oh so good this season too. He'll start on the outside for back underway at Daytona. 18 down, 32 to go.
And a complete opposite to what we saw, Devon, on the last restart. Look where the outside lane is. Absolutely nowhere. They're trying to build drivers, and they're led by the 33 of Paul Jufro, but they're absolutely in no comparison to the 4 drivers who have broken away at the front. First side-by-side battle inside the top 10. That settled quickly, and Vargas leading them single file on the super stretch.
Very interesting. For the first time, the entire outside lane dissipates. They're trying to make it up right now and trying to move forward, and it is included in that group. Paul Jufro in that black and blue number 33 machine gain a big push from your points leader out NASCAR Mexico, Victor Morales.
You have to imagine with the crash that the 39 of Morales was involved in, Devon, and the fact that he's your points leader, you can't imagine maybe something shifted here. By the time we're getting to halfway, he understands, all right, I know I burned the fast repair, I need to be careful, but I also need to be at the front. I want to keep these points. I need to keep the points lead intact, just like he did last week at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park by finishing third. So Morales turning up the pressure, Jufro to the race lead, but Morales looking to take it away with help from Justin Campbell in the 21.
First time we talked about the 16-year-old from Griffin, Georgia, the legend car driver, the NASCAR Drive for Diversity in that black and white number 21 machine, trying to push your current points leader in this International iRacing Series to the lead. On board here with Campbell, and take a look inside of his sim rig as he's at home. Giving a big push, and it looks like Morales is going to lead this lap and lead the field here on lap number 20.
And you see the huge run that the guys on the outside got going into the trial. Well, that's because Jufro slid up high. Vargas didn't really know where to go. He wanted to stay behind that 33, and so in result, all of them checked up. But for right now, it looks like Victor Morales, the San Luis Potosi native out of Mexico, is going to be holding on to the lead, at least for the moment. And Jufro's going to be on the very bottom. That's a phenomenon we see often at these super speedways, Devon, where that outside really has the advantage. Well, if you're on the bottom, yes, you've got the shortest way around the track. That part of the field is usually prone to checkups, where a lot of drivers get into the rear end. They don't want to push the pusher. They slow down, and that can really chop off a lot of miles an hour as they come out of turn 4, and Ryan Vargas looks to the outside for the lead. But again, that's an advantage that the outside has. Longer way around, yes, but you don't have the checkups as often, which helps dramatically. And Vargas looking for the lead back to turn 1.
Morales with the shove. Ryan Vargas back up to P1, the free agent driver, I guess I should say, in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. 5 starts here at Daytona, including his NASCAR career best, coming this past August, finished 6th place in what was a wacky race here at Daytona International Speedway for the NASCAR Xfinity Series. And you see everybody playing bumper tag right now down that super stretch. Jufro still trying to hold strong in that inside lane. Now getting his pushes from Lapsich, who's racing live right now in Nuremberg.
And it looked like, Devon, it took us a little while after that restart to get settled as Jufro slides up high and almost about checked up Lapsich and everybody down low. But now we're seeing what we saw in that first leg of the race. Everybody gridlocked side by side, a formidable group on both lanes at this racetrack. And now that poses the question, who may be comfortable enough to make a third lane happen? I know it's pretty early in this race. We're still not even close to the end, but you can imagine that's a possibility. If you're now getting comfortable, and even if you're a driver that's already comfortable in this oval environment, do you push for 3 wide? Do you find help? And how many drivers will go with you? But for right now, it seems like those 2 lines are the best, and Ryan Vargas clear for the inside, but not going to take it. He's going to stay with Morales on the top. Never mind, he'll go back to the bottom.
And you can see almost just how thin these corners are, but you can comfortably fit that third lane. They do it all the time in the real world. Are they going to be able to do it here with some more inexperienced race car drivers? As Jufro shaking and baking in that inside lane, he will reclaim the lead here as Vargas has to shuffle back out to the outside lane.
And you pose that question about that third lane, and then comes who's going to go with you. Like you said, inexperience is key here with all these drivers. So are they comfortable enough, and do they really want to risk that? Again, that's just a big point about risking it for points while also making sure you don't end up in a crash. It seems as though for the moment nobody even wants to decide for 3 wide or even think about it for the moment. Feel like it's a little bit too dangerous. And Jufro still going head-to-head with Vargas. How about Jufro, though? The amazing run he's put up tonight from Daytona after finishing second last race of the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. We talked to him. He was very excited about that. Said it was important to be smart at this track. Most notably, he's being smart and he's being at the front. So that definitely is a good thing.
The 18-year-old Frenchman currently racing in Euro NASCAR 2 was a rookie, finished 9th in points in this season, racing for Speedhouse. And for a driver like that, at just 18 years old, trying to work his way up the European ranks, if you look kind of at the American Series and the European Series, Euro NASCAR 2 kind of similar in stature to what the NASCAR Xfinity Series is. So you have a NASCAR Xfinity Series driver leading the outside lane and a Euro NASCAR 2 driver leading the inside lane.
And I love that in the top 3, you're seeing a lot of youth represented. Ryan Vargas, just 22 years old. Paul Jufro, 17 years old. Trey Lapsevich, 17 years old, I believe 18 years old for Paul Jufro. All of them relatively young drivers, but they are so strong in the sim and so strong driving in real life. It's awesome to see the youth represented here. Here's a look from Jufro's rig, which we saw last week at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park and almost got split 3 wide by Trey Lapsevich, but Lapsevich held mercy and decided to back out before they got to turn 1.
Boy, oh boy. I think that Jufro is going to be owing Lapsevich some sort of present here in the coming weeks, because he was going to get sucked into the black hole down the middle. And I mean, Lapsevich put on the binders to try to allow him back to that inside lane. That was a mighty large favor from Trey Lapsevich. He most certainly did not have to do that.
I'm pretty sure Lapsevich understood that Jufro was going to shut the door. He was not going to take being put in that sucker hole 3 wide. That's possibly the worst spot you could be in while super speedway racing. You get set in the middle, you have nowhere to go, you can't go to the inside or outside because you're basically swarmed by the field around you. And what's even worse, you most likely don't have help behind you because nobody's going to really want to help that driver falling so far back in the middle lane. So fortunately enough that the 20 of Lapsevich decided to back out. Jufro is going to live to see another lap, but that's going to check them all up. And Victor Barrales, with help from Campbell, is going to surge to the race lead heading for turn 3.
Your points leader coming down to shut the door, and he will reclaim the lead inside of that inside lane. And this will shuffle Justin Campbell to the front of that outside group, but they don't really have much momentum right now. As the 2 Canadians side by side, the 20 and the 7 machine, JP Bergeron, the 24-year-old out of Quebec, is just a rookie. He finished 10th in 2022 in the points series up in Canada. Average finish of about 12.5, and so he had himself a pretty solid rookie year with 7 top 10s and hoping to build on that. It's just a 24-year-old.
Yeah, a driver who finished in the top 10 at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, the track that we saw not too long ago. And for the driver of that 7, he actually did also finish in the top 10 in sim as well. Finished P8 not too long ago in the second race of the NASCAR International iRacing Series, and turning up the heat, this 7 car, as we saw him involved in that crash, heading for turn 3. Him and Barrales were, and they've done such a beautiful job of picking themselves back up. And also you could say the same for the 148 of Gordon Barnes, who's kind of just been hanging in there, Devin. We haven't talked too much about this Chevy Camaro all race long, but the driver from Colchester, United Kingdom, certainly hanging in there with 22 laps to go.
And for Gordon Barnes, he is one of the more veteran drivers, if you will, the 49-year-old out of the UK, but it doesn't mean that he has any less driving ability. A back-to-back Euro Series Club Challenge champion, defeating another driver in this series, Neo Lambert, who's not here today, by just a single point. 5 wins and 10 starts and 6 podiums 2 seasons ago, and Gordon Barnes trying to work his way forward, and right now one of the premier drivers in Euro NASCAR, trying to get himself up front, but right now has the view of this massive pack here in front of him with their points leader Victor Barrales currently leading the way.
And I love how you're seeing the 2 ideologies of super speedway racing, Devin, show in full force here as we come across the halfway and as we enter these final 20 laps from Daytona. The 2 motives, you see these guys at the front, Ryan Vargas, Trey Lapsevich, Paul Jufro, even Victor Barrales, who has shown up here in the past couple laps, Justin Campbell, the 21. All these guys have that theory of, we can avoid the trouble if we stay at the front. But then you've got guys like Gordon Barnes in the 148, Jaden Reyna in the 5, that have the opposite end of the idea that, hey, if we stay in the back, chances are if they crash in front of us, we have more than enough time to check up for the wreck and get out of harm's way. So you're seeing 2 different of them.
Trouble in the back.
That's Andres Perez de Lara into the outside wall. A couple of more involved. It looks like Luli de Castello in the 24 also got a piece of the safer barrier that's going to break up the field, but we're going to stay green.
Yeah, no one had a massive collision. Everyone scattered, but that will likely be the end of the race for the 17-year-old out of Mexico City. And currently your Challenge Series champion or points leader in Mexico. Take a look back here. What we have going on here is a pair of Mexico Series drivers getting together. An errant push leads to some trouble in the back of the field.